Episode 29. The closely packed, silent crowds of Earthmen had vanished. Instead, there were figures darting about by ones or twos or threes. They behaved like people who do not want to be seen, lurking in shadow behind buttresses or in doorways, and then moving quickly across the open into fresh places of hiding. But the strangest thing of all, to anyone who knew the gnomes, was the noise. Shouts and cries came from all directions, but from the harbor there came a low, rumbling roar which grew steadily louder and was already shaking the whole city.
"What's happened to the Earthmen?" said Scrubb. "Is it them shouting?"
"'Tis hardly possible," said the prince. "I never heard one of the rascals so much as speak with a loud voice in all the weary years of my bondage. Some new devilry, I don't doubt."
"And what is that red light over there?" asked Jill. "Is something on fire?"
"If you ask me," said Puddleglum, "I should say that was the central fires of the earth breaking out to make a new volcano. We'll be in the middle of it, I shouldn't wonder."
"Look at that ship," said Scrubb. "Why is it coming on so quickly? No one's rowing it."
"Look, look," said the prince. "The ship is already far this side of the harbour. It is in the street. Look, all the ships are driving into the city. By my head, the sea's rising. The flood is upon us. Aslan be praised, this castle stands on high ground, but the water comes on grimly fast."
"Oh, what can be happening?" cried Jill. "Fire and water and all those people dodging about the streets?"
"I'll tell you what it is," said Puddleglum. "That witch has laid a train of magic spells so that whenever she was killed, at that same moment her whole kingdom would fall to pieces. She's the sort that wouldn't much mind dying herself if she knew that the chap who killed her was going to be burned or buried or drowned 5 minutes later."
"Hast hit it, friend Wiggle," said the prince. "When our swords hacked off the witch's head, that stroke ended all her magic works, and now the deep lands are falling to pieces. We are looking on the end of Underworld."
"That's it, sir," said Puddleglum, "unless it should happen to be the end of the whole world."
"But are we just going to stay here and wait?" gasped Jill. "Not by my counsel," said the prince. "I would save my horse Coal-Black and the witches Snowflake, a noble beast and worthy of a better mistress, which are both stabled in the courtyard. After that, let us make shift to get out to high ground and pray that we shall find an outlet. The horses can carry 2 each at need, and if we put them to it, they may outstrip the flood."
"Will your highness not put on armour?" asked Puddleglum. "I don't like the look of those,"
and he pointed down to the street. Everyone looked down. Dozens of creatures, and now that they were close, they obviously were Earthmen, were coming up from the direction of the harbor. But they were not moving like an aimless crowd. They behaved like modern soldiers in an attack, making rushes and taking cover, anxious not to be seen from the castle windows. "I dare not see the inside of that armor again," said the prince. "I rode in it as in a movable dungeon, and it stinks of magic and slavery. But I will take the shield." He left the room and returned with a strange light in his eyes a moment later. "Look, friends," he said, holding out the shield toward them. "An hour ago it was black and without device, and now this." The shield had turned bright as silver, and on it, redder than blood or cherries, was the figure of the lion. "Doubtless,"
said the prince. "This signifies that Aslan will be our good lord, whether he means us to live or die. And all's one for that. Now, by my counsel, we shall all kneel and kiss his likeness, and then all shake hands one with another, as true friends that may shortly be parted. And then let us descend into the city and take the adventure that is sent us." And they all did as the prince had said. But when Scrubb shook hands with Jill, he said,
"So long, Jill. Sorry I've been a funk and so ratty. I hope you get safe home."
And Jill said,
"So long, Eustace, and I'm sorry I've been such a pig."
and this was the first time they had ever used Christian names, because one didn't do it at school. The prince unlocked the door, and they all went down the stairs, 3 of them with drawn swords, and Jill with drawn knife. The attendants had vanished, and the great room at the foot of the prince's stairs was empty. The gray, doleful lamps were still burning, and by their light they had no difficulty in passing gallery after gallery and descending stairway after stairway. The noises from outside the castle were not so easily heard here as they had been in the room above. Inside the house all was still as death and deserted. It was as they turned a corner into the great hall on the ground floor that they met their first Earthman, a fat, whitish creature with a very pig-like face, who was gobbling up all the remains of food on the tables. It squealed, and the squeal also was very like a pig's, and darted under a bench, whisking its long tail out of Puddleglum's reach in the nick of time. Then it rushed away through the far door too quickly to be followed. From the hall they came out into the courtyard. Jill, who went to a riding school in the holidays, had just noticed the smell of a stable. A very nice, honest, homely smell it is to meet in a place like Underland, when Eustace said,
"Great Scott! Look at that!"
A magnificent rocket had risen from somewhere beyond the castle walls and broken into green stars.
"Fireworks,"
said Jill in a puzzled voice.
"Yes," said Eustace, "but you can't imagine those Earth people letting them off for fun. It must be a signal."
"And means no good to us, I'll be bound,"
said Puddleglum. "Friends," said the prince, "when once a man is launched on such an adventure as this, he must bid farewell to hopes and fears. Otherwise, death or deliverance will both come too late to save his honor and his reason. Ho, my beauties!" He was now opening the stable door. "Hey, cousins! Steady, Coal-Black! Softly now, Snowflake! You are not forgotten." The horses were both frightened by the strange lights and the noises. Jill, who had been so cowardly about going through a black hole between one cave and another, went in without fear between the stamping and snorting beasts, and she and the prince had them saddled and bridled in a few minutes. Very fine they looked as they came out into the courtyard, tossing their heads. Jill mounted Snowflake, and Puddleglum got up behind her. Eustace got up behind the prince on Coal-Black. Then, with a great echo of hooves, they rode out of the main gateway into the street.
"Not much danger of being burnt. That's the bright side of it,"
observed Puddleglum, pointing to their right. There, hardly 100 yards away, lapping against the walls of the houses, was water. "Courage!" said the prince. "The road there goes down steeply. The water has climbed only half up the greatest hill in the city. It might come so near in the first half-hour and come no nearer in the next 2. My fear is more of that," and he pointed with his sword to a great, tall Earthman with boar's tusks, followed by 6 others of assorted shapes and sizes, who had just dashed out of a side street and stepped into the shadow of the houses where no one could see them.